Hey guys, just want to say a quick thanks for hitting 100 subs. I'm loving the support on recent videos, so let's try and get to 500. Maybe I'm asking for too much, but I know a lot of you aren't subscribers, so I'd really appreciate if you could like and subscribe. Anyways, let's get straight into it then. Indivisible is a 2D role-playing platformer game, and is unlike anything I've ever played before. It has a beautiful stylistic graphics that really resembles a clean anime-style look. Everything from the gorgeous and ravishing cutscenes to the unparalleled 2D animations. Everything just fits. Now I'm aware some of you might not be fans of this art style, and that's understandable. But as a lover of shows like Avatar: The Last Airbender, you can't help but see the resemblance in the style. I'm personally not the biggest fan of 2D games, and I'm really picky when it comes to art style and visual design. Indivisible's visuals did a fantastic job at setting the tone and creating atmosphere when out in the world, from the vibrant and warm city ports to the lonely and barren mountains. It's not just the visuals that sell this game for me, it's also the phenomenal soundtrack, which is really reminiscent of old adventure games such as the Final Fantasy series or even Zelda. I mean, take a listen to this. The music composer at Lab Zero Games really did a superb job on the music, which just fits the nature of the game and does a really good job at setting the mood. Enough of the visuals, let's talk the main story. You play as the young, hot-headed Ajna, daughter of Indir, who is one of the 4 warriors to have sealed the old god Kala away, preventing her from destroying the world. However, Kala's seal is broken, and Ajna must set off to stop Kala herself. The story is your classic adventure story where a young protagonist with no experience must set out and save the world. But what really drew me into this story was the uniqueness of Ajna herself. She soon realizes she is not the daughter of India, or the person she once believed she was, throwing her into turmoil. Ajna must face her own weaknesses and overcome many conflicts in order to save the world from Kala. I think for me, seeing Ajna and her friends conflict and overcome obstacles throughout the game really drove home the experience and created a real sense of progression as time went on. The story itself was well paced with large action sequences to calming and relaxing exploration. The story in this game was done exceptionally, and I really can't give it enough praise. Onto the combat system in this game. It's very similar to your traditional Japanese role-playing games, also known as JRPGs. However, it adds a fun and more simplistic spin on it. Like many JRPGs, you control a party of 4, each with their own unique combos, abilities and skills, making it important to switch your party around for various occasions. But unlike most JRPGs, this game doesn't operate on a turn-based system, but rather an action-based system, where each character can perform multiple actions before needing to wait for these actions to replenish. Kinda like cooldowns. You can attack all at once for large damage, but then that creates a window for your enemies to try and attack you back. So it's important to find the right balance between using your attacks and abilities and also saving some to break the attacks and combos of enemies. The more you use actions, the more you build up your IDI, which is just this game's way of saying a special bar, which you can expend to unleash powerful moves based on the amount of IDI you choose to consume. There is also a block in this game, which allows a player to take reduced damage, unless of course they get a perfectly timed block, which then negates the damage. Overall, the combat in this game is pretty well polished and definitely satisfying. I mean, nothing feels better than landing some combo abilities and then using your super to absolutely obliterate the enemy. But in saying this, the combat system is no pushover as well. There's a little more depth in terms of learning the enemy's moves, what they're resistant to and what they're weak to, but as a whole, it's a lot of fun with a reasonable challenge to it. Before we get into characters, I'd like to just say if you're enjoying the video, give it a quick like and don't forget to subscribe for more content. Now there are a long list of characters that you can recruit for your journey along the way. So make sure to always ask around and help out people if you want to unlock more characters. As I mentioned earlier, these characters form your party, which you can use in combat. And since each character is unique, you can find some pretty cool combinations, such as Yarn and Nuna. Yarn does more damage the longer enemies are knocked up into the air, while Nuna has abilities that can easily knock up multiple enemies and keep them in the air. This is just a basic combo, but there are many more other ones that you can come up with. I love this aspect of the game because it always felt so satisfying to unlock a new character and trying to figure out what team they belong in, what group of characters work well with their abilities. And this just helped the game feel less stale and more diverse, as you're constantly changing your team and changing your style to match the characters in your party. In saying all this though, there are missable characters, which is a bit of a shame. I mean, in my first playthrough, I missed around 5 of the extra characters that you get through completing side missions or quests. The game does, however, have 11 unmissable characters, meaning you can actually just beat the game with them, and you'll be fine. But by doing the extra exploration, you can reward yourself with a more diverse team and a better constructed team to suit your playstyle. I think the sheer amount of characters, as well as their unique identities in terms of the abilities and personality, make it a great experience to mix and match till you find something that works and is a whole lot of fun to play. Moving on from the characters in this game, let's talk about the platforming and character movement. Ajna learns a wide range of abilities to allow her to traverse the world in many different ways, from dashes to using her spear as a spring. The devs came up with some unique and wacky ways to traverse the world in a fun and not so dull manner. However, this is probably my one issue with the game, and sometimes it felt clunky and frustrating. Maybe it's just me, but some of the actions and inputs felt like they weren't acting as intended, which led to multiple agonizing deaths. But apart from this, the abilities flow and work well with each other, and most importantly, feel satisfying to use. Linking with the platforming, we also have the level and world design. Now the world has 5 or 6 different locations to visit, each with their own collectibles and desired routes to go through them in order to progress through the story. However, there is a lot of hidden passages and hidden items that require you to backtrack once you have the necessary movement abilities. The game almost taunts you sometimes by putting pickups just out of your reach, but once you get the next ability, you remember about that pickup that you just couldn't get and make your way back there. But the levels are designed intricately to allow for faster travel with new abilities. There are shortcuts and even areas you didn't realize existed that are now available to the player upon returning to an old zone in the world, to ensure that even though you're returning to a familiar area, there is still something to explore. Indivisible does what most games cannot, and makes backtracking fun and interesting. I mean, most games just make you backtrack through the same area and not even change a thing, so it's awesome that this game changes up the experience just a little. Overall, I'd honestly say that Indivisible is a fantastic game that you've probably never heard of. I mean, everything from the visuals to its story to its combat and world design is second to none. Its visuals are breathtaking and really set the tone for an adventure-driven story that creates lovable and likable characters for you to engage and immerse yourself with. The combat is something new and something old. It blends the traditional JRPGs and a faster paced combat system that really creates a unique experience unlike any other. The movement and world design make for fun exploration to collect new items and unlock new characters. I couldn't recommend this game enough to you. If it looks appealing at all to you, I urge you to pick this one up. Thanks for watching. If you could like and subscribe, it would be very much appreciated. Let me know your thoughts on the game in the comments section below.